Hello there. This is Lori speaking. Welcome to Math 1046's live Skype presentation. It is Wednesday evening. Evan, Manal, can you hear me okay?
I can.
I can hear you too, Evan. How are you?
Beautiful. Not too bad. How are you?
Good. You sound great. Coming through loud and clear. That's great. And Manal, you're typing. That's awesome. We'll see if Manal can hear us okay. Now we might have a few late joiners, but that's okay. And I'm only going to be here, it's only a half an hour tonight. I just wanted to go over a few things, and if you folks have questions, then that's great as well. Ah, great, Manel, you can hear us. That's wonderful. Okay, let me just... So I'm recording tonight because there are students that, of course, aren't able to participate tonight, but would like to watch the recording. Oh, and Manal can't hear us. Just a sec. Test, test, 1, 2, 3. Test, test, 1, 2, 3. Oh, and we have another attendee too. Hey, Morgan, if you can hear me, let me know. You can grab a microphone or text in the chat window. Great. Hey, Morgan. So feel free to, you can grab a microphone if you want, or you can text, type, that's no problem as well. And then now we can see that your microphone is moving, but we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes. Hello.
Hi.
Oh, you can hear us too. That's great. Great. Okay, so we're all good that way. Oh, this slide here. Can everybody see the slides on the screen? This one says, help, are you having problems with sound? I should have had that one up, Manal. I forgot that I had this in my slide stack. So that's okay. Everybody can see that. Can you see that, Manal? Is that okay, Evan?
Yep, I got that.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to move past that. We're going to move past that just because we only have a half an hour, and I've got 2 other classes tonight that I'm going to go through, so I want to make sure that I have time for your questions. But tonight I'll take your questions if you have anything about the course. I'm also going to talk a little bit about D2L and the My Math Lab, and talk about expectations regarding the course. So if you want to hold your questions for just a sec, I think that I will hit different things that will, and I'll ask for questions then, and then I'll just do an open question at the end if that's okay. And feel free that if you have to go, you can go. There's a lot of background noise, so what I would suggest is while you're listening, if you just mute your microphone, and you can mute your microphone at the bottom. There's a little microphone thing, and if you just click on that, it will turn off. And then when you want to talk, you can just click that back on and it will come on again. I know I have to close my door to my office, or else I'll have dogs and kids and all that in here as well. So I'm super excited to start the term. It was a beautiful day, so I'm sorry for pulling you away from your supper and beautiful sun this afternoon. And as all Skypes are going to be recorded, so if you can only drop in for a few minutes, and then if you have to leave, that's no problem at all. Feel free to do that. And I should say, does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask now because they can't stay for long? Okay. Nope, everybody's good that way. Great. Okay, so first thing that I'm going to talk about are just some points here. I apologize, these slides are super boring, just because it's more notes for me to make sure that I hit on a few things. I'm just going to grab my pointer. There it is. And so the welcome unit, hopefully everybody's completing the welcome unit for tomorrow. I think I posted in the news feed that it was due today, but I believe it's not due until tomorrow. But if you can get the to-do list and the welcome unit done today, that'd be great, because that's going to make sure that all of your D2L settings are set, that you're able to access your webmail, and that your Pearson My Math Lab is set up as well. Oh, Manel can't hear us again? Oop. Uh-oh. So while Manal is typing, luckily it's recorded, so even if she misses it, she'll be able to look back at this. While she's typing, Evan and Morgan, do you guys have any questions about setting up your computer, Pearson My Math Lab? How's it going so far in those things? Do you have any questions? Is it okay? Evan, how are you doing? Did you get it working? Everything working okay? Oh, Evan, your microphone's muted. He might also not be there.
Oh, there we go. Sorry.
There you go. That's okay.
Yeah, I have everything already set up on my computer, and I'm now working on the Refresher Week content.
Excellent, excellent. And the thing about that Refresher Week content is that that's completely choose your own adventure. You can do some of it, all of it, or none of it. So it's not something that's going to go towards marks. You just kind of pick and choose what you think that you need extra practice with. And I'll be talking about the refresher unit after the welcome unit as well. But that's great. That means you're right on track, which is great. Let me just one more message to Manel. There we go. Okay, so I've sent that to Manal, and she and I can try and fix this a little bit later, but it is recording, so she can watch that. So the welcome unit is all about setting up D2L, setting up your webmail, setting up Skype, and My Math Lab, so that everybody's got their technology ready to go, so that they can move on in the course. The schedule, if you haven't looked at the schedule, that's in the welcome unit. The schedule is a great place to go to, because it shows the deadlines, and the unit deadlines. What that means is that everything in the unit, from the My Math Lab assignments, pre-test and test, and the D2L assignments, are due by that deadline, and the deadline always has a midnight time, and you can submit assignments all the way up until that midnight time. Any assignments that are submitted after that time, it's a 0 mark, and which sounds very, very strict, but what I'm going to say about that is that I know that we're all adults, and oh my goodness, reading the introductions that you guys have been posting, I know that you're working, you have kids, you have animals, you have, we're all super, super busy. So this is what I'm going to say about deadlines and extensions. If you let me know 24 hours before a deadline that you need extra time, and I don't need an excuse, you don't have to tell me why, you just need the deadline, the extension, I'm able to give up to 2 to 3 days extension. So usually what that means is that deadlines are on Friday, and I can give up to Monday or Tuesday so that you have that extra time. So that's built into our schedule. We have deadlines just to keep everybody on track. But if you need an extension, just let me know 24 hours ahead of time, and that's not going to be a problem, except on the very last course date, which is the end of course, which is December the 14th, and we can't give extensions past that because the registrar is waiting for our final marks. So that's the only one that's set in stone. Everything else, I'm completely open to extensions. Just let me know 24 hours advance so that I can get into the system and make the proper arrangements. So if you can't let me know 24 hours advance and it's an emergency, something happens on the day of the deadline, then again, just send me an email, send me a text, and let me know, and that's not going to be a problem. So really, there's only a few times in the past 7 years that I've taught that I've had to give zeros to students, and because most students just send me an email, and we're super flexible that way. You'll notice that in the schedule we have 3 proctored tests and 2 take-at-home tests. So when you write the take-at-home test, it's on My Math Lab, and you're allowed your notes, you have your textbook, and you have 2 hours to complete the test. We also have the 3 proctor tests, which are done at testing centers, and you can choose whatever campus is closest to you, or maybe you are traveling for work and another campus is going to be better that day. You can go to any of the 13 campuses in the province, and later on I'm going to give out a link where you can go to see those testing centers, their contact information, what hours they're open, and a testing request form. So I'm going to be posting that with the recording from tonight's session, so that students that want to make appointments, and we should make appointments about a week in advance, can go ahead and start looking and making arrangements for that. And with the proctor test, you're allowed your calculator, you're allowed scrap paper, and you are allowed a 1-page study sheet, 2-sided, and I think I get to that in another slide, but I might as well mention that now. So you can't have your textbook or your notes, but you are allowed a 1-page double-sided study sheet, and you can put whatever you want on that. They're not going to be, the proctors don't look at that sheet to see, okay, what have you put on this? It's whatever you want. You can write as big or small as you want. You can put example problems, formulas, that all of that. So I'll be reminding that for everybody when we talk about proctor tests a little bit later as well. So there are 3 proctor tests and 2 take-at-home tests. The marks, this is all in the outline as well. So if you've read the outline, this is just going to be a little bit of a repeat of that. But I just wanted to emphasize that out of 100%, 10% of the mark goes towards the D2L discussions and assignments. So I find that because my Math Lab homework and our quizzes and tests are in my Math Lab, sometimes students forget to go back into D2L and in their unit and see if there's any discussions or assignments that are due for that unit. And that's where the schedule really comes in handy, because I've listed in the schedule all of the assignments that you need to do for the unit, so that you can see whether there is a discussion or an assignment in D2L that's needed. So 10% of your mark comes from those D2L discussions and assignment. The homework that you are doing in my Math Lab is worth 15%. Now, Evan was talking about how he started to do some of the homework in the refresher unit. That's the only unit where we're not using any of the marks. It's a unit just to get everybody to brush up on their foundation skills. But when we start Unit 1, the My Math Lab homework is going to start to count. But the good news about the My Math Lab homework is you can rework the homework as much as you want, and many students will get 100% on much of their My Math Lab homework. So it's an easy 15% that way. A lot of study goes into doing the homework, but you can rework it as much as you want to get the mark that you would like. So so that's the My Math Lab homework, 15% of your mark. The pre-tests are worth 25% of your mark, and then the tests are worth 50% of your mark. So the tests, that's where most of your mark comes from, are the tests. Now, you only have one attempt at the test, but you have 2 attempts at the quizzes, and we take your best mark on the quiz. So you could really do your first attempt on the quiz not having studied a lot. You could even do it as a self-assessment at the very beginning of the unit to see how much you know, and then on your second attempt, it's very similar questions, just the data is a bit different, and then do that, and then whichever one is your highest mark, that's what we're going to take for the 25%. And lastly, in order to obtain the course credit, you must achieve both of the following criteria, and this is really important because you can get one of them and not get the other, and you won't get a pass for the course. So the criteria are that you have to have an overall mark of 60% or higher, and you have to have a mark of 60% or higher on each of the individual tests. So let's say that you have a 70% overall mark, so you have a passing mark overall, but you failed 2 of your tests. That means that you're going to fail the course. And then we do have a supplementary exam that you might be qualified to take to try and get the pass that way. But if you fail 2 tests, then you do fail the course even if your overall mark is above a 60%. And for those of you that are new to the college, that might seem a little bit strange because in high school it's all about the overall mark. But in college, these are math is the prerequisite for university programs and other NSCC programs where they're more interested in are all the outcomes of the course satisfied, because we need students to have these outcomes when they come into our course. And if you have failed 2 tests, that means you failed a whole group of outcomes that are needed for the program. So it's a bit of a mind shift from high school to college in that respect. Now I will say, if you fail 2 tests, it's not the end of your journey in the course per se. Usually there's something that I can offer, either a retest or an assignment, depending on how much you have, how far away from the 60% you are. And that's something that I'll discuss on an individual basis, looking at what you've done on your homework and on your assignments and that sort of a thing. So what I'll say here is that if you find that you fail a test, let me know right away. The system doesn't tell me. You let me know right away through an email or a text, and then I'll take a look, and then we can discuss options to get those marks back so that it's a pass. And this is stuff that you'll find that you'll forget about now, and then it will come to the point where you will have a situation where you might fail a test and you're like, oh, I remember Lori saying something about letting her know, and then I'll remind you, and we'll go from there. But it's not the end of the world. Many students do find that they have a crappy test and they just let me know, and then we'll talk about it and go from there. But I will say there are students that do have an overall mark of 70% or above, and they do fail the course because they weren't able to demonstrate that they understand the concepts in a testing situation. So that can happen too. So I just wanted to give you those 2 scenarios so that you know what to expect that way. In terms of the 1-week refresher, once we get the welcome unit done, the 1-week refresher is different from all the other units because this is just an opportunity for each student to look at where they are in terms of their foundational math skills. So the only thing that is required to do in this 1-week refresher is to write the placement assessment. And there's 1 attempt on the placement assessment, and it's found in My Math Lab. So if you have access to My Math Lab, you can you'll see that the placement assessment is at the end of the refresher list, and what we're looking for in that, it's about 20 questions, and they range from all the topics that are listed in the refresher unit: algebra, number theory, graphing. And we really are looking for an 80% to show that you know that you have the required skills. If you get less than an 80%, then that's telling us that you know, a little bit of brush up is needed. And if you do really poorly, then that might be an indication that you're not ready for Math 1046 yet, that you need to brush up either in the Foundations 1043 course, or you need to maybe brush up on your own, doing a little bit of study, and then taking Math 1046 maybe in the winter term starting in January. So the placement assessment is the only thing required, but we do have lots of resources. There's homework assignments in my math lab just to get practice on the different concepts. There's videos and worksheets in the refresher D2L unit itself that you can also use for help as well. I'm going to take a moment here because I've talked about the welcome unit and the 1 week refresher. Does anybody have questions so far? You can either grab the mic or you can text in the text window. But if you're okay, you can say okay in the chat window or give me a thumbs up. If you click on the little smiley guy, you'll be able to see the thumbs up. Evan's good, Morgan's good, great. Manal, how about you? Oh, Nancy. Oh, there you. Hi, Nancy. Sorry, I didn't see you. You're coming up as a presenter, but that's okay. Nice to have you. No problem. Nancy, how are you doing? Do you have any questions so far?
No, it's good.
No? Oh, good. Hi, I can hear you too. That's great.
Yeah, I thought it was starting at 8:30 for some reason.
Oh, Nancy, do you know what? This is my Math 1046 group. So.
Oh, you're the math one. Okay.
Yeah. Are you here for chemistry?
I'm here for chemistry, but I'm also taking Math 1046.
Oh, are you with me or are you with Jordan?
Oh, Jordan.
You're with Jordan. No problem, because this probably pertains to you as well. But you can come back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds good. Or you can stay, whatever. But I'll for sure be seeing you in chem. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Well, if everybody's okay, then I'll just go and talk about what's happening after the refresher unit. So everybody does the refresher unit, and they at least do the placement assessment for Math 1046. And in that placement assessment, you'll get your mark. And if you want to discuss your mark with me, then let me know. There is on the schedule, you will see that there is a last day to withdraw and receive a 95%. So I will have some students that will do the placement assessment and will not fare very well even after brushing up, and they'll realize that, oh, it looks like I need to do a little bit of work before I take this course, and they'll want to try and get into the 1043 foundations, or maybe they'll decide to do the brush up on their own and then register for the January Math 1046 course. So the last day to withdraw and receive that 95% is September the 24th. And then you get another opportunity to withdraw on November the 7th. And you can withdraw anytime between those dates, but November the 7th is the cutoff day, and anytime after that you won't be able to withdraw, and your mark will be your mark. So I'm going to post those dates in and on the calendar, but you'll also find it on the schedule in the welcome unit. So the refresher unit really helps students make that decision of whether they want to stay in the course or whether they decide to do something different and then maybe perhaps come back a little bit later. So once we get that decision process done, then we go on to Unit 1 and the rest of the course. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about how to be successful in the math course. And first of all, when you every unit starts with a what to do guide, and you want to read that. That's at the very top of the D2L unit. It's going to tell you what resources are available for you and what is required in order to complete that unit. So please have a look at that document when you start a unit. Check the schedule so that you're aware of deadlines and whether your unit has a proctored test or a take-home test. If it's a proctored test, you're going to want to schedule a testing center. If I have any students that are out of province, you can get an external proctor that is near to you, so you don't have to travel to Nova Scotia if you're in New Brunswick. I've had students as far away as Bermuda, actually. Just send me an email and let me know that you need an external proctor, and then I can tell you how to proceed from there. Always start with the textbook. Many students, once they get into my math lab, they love it, but sometimes they don't go back to the textbook. And what I'm going to say about that is that students that start with the textbook first and follow the sections and read there and then move on to videos or my math lab are oftentimes much more successful in the course. And the reason for that is that the textbook is able to connect the concepts together better than just doing skills videos. There's no connections between the skills video. They're kind of standalone videos, whereas the textbook has a nice progression that connects the skills together. So I always recommend that students start by reading in the textbook and then moving on. And I have many students that say, look, Lori, I'm not a textbook learner. I'm more of a visual learner, more of a hands-on learner, and that's great. But studies have shown that no matter what type of learner you are, whether you're an audio learner or a visual learner, students do best if they learn from a variety of different resources. So if you stick only to visual learning, you won't, studies have shown that you won't get as much out of it as if you used a variety of resources. So what they find is that a visual learner that tries to learn something through audio actually has to use more of their brain to listen, and it's maybe not as easy for them to learn, but the concepts actually stick more because they've had to put in that extra energy. So some really cool research around that. But the bottom line is that the more variety you have in your resources that you're learning from, the better. So that's why I say start with the textbook, then refer to the videos and the practice resources in D2L, then move into the My Math Lab homework assignments because you're going to get feedback, immediate feedback to see if you're doing okay in those questions. And there's a question help tool which is fabulous. If you haven't checked that out yet, check that out. There's an Ask Your Instructor button that sends me a link to the exact question, and I love that button. So you'll be able to see those things in My Math Lab, which are great. You complete the D2L unit assignments, and then you can complete the My Math Lab test. As I said, the pre-test, you have 2 attempts, and we take the highest mark. And then for the test, there is 1 attempt. And then last but not least, I touched on this just now, but just a few more things. Schedule your study time. 1-hour blocks spread out during the week is great. Just do what you're able to do. Some students are able to do 2 hours. Some students are only able to do 20 minutes. That's about my length that I can put down and study for. And even now in some of the studies that I'm doing, I just have to spread out those 20-minute blocks over the day in order to get up to my hour. So, but it's best to schedule daily study sessions instead of binge studying. I know sometimes that's all you can do because of your work schedule and family schedule. A lot of students have to do all of their study on the weekend, but if you can even take a half an hour in the morning and a half an hour at night just to get in some few practice problems, that's really going to help with your retention and your ability to kind of go more in depth in the concepts. Scaffolding your study, so only doing a section at a time is great instead of trying to do a whole bunch of sections and reviewing. It's better to do one at a time. Again, start with the textbook because that's where you're going to get your connections. Use that variety of resources like I talked about. Even if you prefer learning visually or on pen on paper, whatever you use, it's best just to mix it up because it's going to help with that retention that we talked about. And reach out. I keep saying in my videos that I'm more of a guide on the side than the sage on the stage. Online's different, right? We're not coming into a classroom 3 times a week where I'm up lecturing. All of the lectures are on video. I'm here to answer your questions. So feel like use me. This is what I'm here for. You can text me, you can call me, you can email me, you can post in the Q&A section on all the units. That's a great way because then everybody shares in the questions and the answers, but that's really what I'm here for. Use the pre-test to reflect on areas needing more study. So try and do the pre-test a couple of days before your test so that you have an opportunity to go over things you've got wrong and do a little bit of extra study to get ready for your test. Ask for an extension before a deadline. So if you're finding that you are realizing that you're running out of time, just let me know so we can build in some extra time into the schedule and help relieve your stress a bit. And again, I know I've already written this out, but reach out when you have questions. That Q&A discussion in the units, that's where all of us can come together and answer questions, but you can also call me, email me, or text me. I do find that math, many students look for tutors to help them out. And there's tutors available on many of the campuses, so you can go to the Student Center and ask about tutoring through the NSCC campus. You are as much of a student as an in-class student, so you have all of the resources available to you at your local campus. So you just have to go and ask for them, and they'll be happy to see you. You might want to hire a private tutor. Usually Kijiji is a great place to look for those tutors, and I'm going to be providing Skype sessions on Monday nights, and that has been posted in the calendar at the course homepage. So I'll be available every Monday night, and then if you want to send me questions, you can do that as well, and there's also opportunity for one-on-one questions through Skype as well. So lots of places to find extra help when you need it. That is what I wanted to go over for tonight. Just quick and overview of what to expect in the course. Many of you probably already have taken an online course before, so this is not new. And then many of you, this is your first online course, which is a toughie. Math is probably one of the hardest online courses in the School of Access, so it's good to get it under your belt first. But it's a challenge as well. Anybody have any questions after all of that? Don't be shy. And if anybody at home that's watching that couldn't be here tonight, if you have a question, just email me your question after you've watched the recording, and I can answer there as well too. Evan, Manel, Morgan, give me a thumbs up if you're okay, or grab a microphone if you have a question. But otherwise, that's all I have to give you tonight. Next Monday, I think I have it that we are in class from, let me see what I wrote. I posted, but now I forget. I think we're in class from 7 until 7:45. Yes, is going to be our weekly Skype session class. And then the Skypes are not mandatory. They're completely voluntary for participation, and they will always be recorded. And if you can't make it, but you have a question that you want me to go over, you just have to send it in an email, and I'm happy to go over it in session. You're welcome, Morgan. Manal, I'm glad you could finally hear me. Oh, that's great. if you have any questions or you're having trouble getting set up this week, just let me know. I'm happy to come into Skype and do more of a one-on-one session with anybody that is finding it difficult to get through the technology side of things. So let me know sooner rather than later. I'm hoping that all of us can start Unit 1 on Monday. I think that the deadline for the refresher is Wednesday, but I want to push students to try and get that finished over the weekend, check their assessment, and then move into Unit 1 by Monday. Evan, they're actually Monday evenings, not Wednesdays. And they'll always be on Monday evening, yes. No problem. And again, if anybody can't make those sessions, there will be a recording, and you can also send in your questions to me to cover, and I'm also open to have one-on-one Skype sessions, and those are by appointment. So I'm going to stay in the session, and if anybody has any questions, you can stay in. But when you're ready to go, you just have to click the X button in the top right. And I wish everybody, have a great week, and I might see you next Monday night for our first Unit 1 session. Thanks, everybody, for coming. It was nice to see you. You're welcome, Evan. It was nice to see you in tonight's session as well. Nice to meet you, Manal. You're in my chem as well. Will you be back again? You poor woman. You have me twice. That's great, Manal. I'll see you at 8:30. And Morgan, I don't know if you're still in the session, but is everything okay with you as well? Let me know. See you Monday, Evan. And those of you that are watching the recording, thank you for watching the video, and hope to see you Monday or virtually. So if you have any questions, please do feel free to send me an email. And with that, I'm just going to turn off the recording and get ready for the next session.